Well, some people call them rats of the sky.
I love them, my children love them, we love feeding them.
Well, I prefer them over Indian miners and starlings.
My view is that they're highly successful, highly opportunistic.
There's something of bandits of the sky, I suppose.
They have a place. The problem is
They're great birds.
You'd find a lot of people regard them as a real pain.
Gulls are primarily seashore birds. They like socialising and live in large colonies along the shores. They breed in all seasons of the year, depending on the availability of food and weather conditions. Gulls are faithful partners and dedicated parents. They stay together to build up the nest and raise the young ones. They prefer shores and steep cliffs along the sea to nest. During the breeding season, these cliffs are covered with nests and the sky echoes with their calls. Australia. Aborigines are believed to be the first immigrants to this untouched landmass full of natural resources. Then, after several thousand years, the Europeans arrived. After World War II, Australia underwent massive industrial expansion. As a result, the population increased. Suddenly, there was a change in lifestyle. Silver gulls were amongst the few species to survive this massive human interference.
Well, seagull populations have increased over the 50 years. Reason being is because of the gull's adaptability. They're a species that's been able to adapt to changing environment. Those better conditions have meant that the gulls have been able to monopolise, and therefore the population has increased.
With this increase in population, where do they get food from? Melbourne, Australia's second largest city, with a growing population of over 3.8 million. Superabundance of silver gulls is one of the growing problems in Melbourne. Gulls can be seen everywhere in the city, from streets to train stations to bus stops. Their number in Melbourne has increased so fast in the last 2 decades that gulls have brought themselves into the category of superabundant pests. Flinders Street Station, the busiest train station in the heart of the city. Thousands of commuters get on and off the train every day of the week. Gulls can be seen on the platforms and the roofs all across the station, waiting for an opportunity to get their share.
Being a pretty much a 24-hour operation, we've got ongoing cleaning projects that make sure stations are kept as clean as they possibly can, and that means cleaning up the sort of debris that's left behind by birds as well. It might be nice to have a few birds around the place, but nobody wants to see an overpopulation. So there are steps that we can take, and they're very simple steps really. When we finish with our food, if we've bought something while we're out and about, just to actually take that and make sure it's wrapped up properly before it goes into the bins. We try and discourage people from actually feeding them because it's creates too much of an attraction for the birds to actually come down and use the station.
the population of silver gulls has grown to such an extent that the natural habitat has fallen short of accommodating all of them. Now they have started nesting in the urban areas close to the sea. Ian works for the Department of Environment and Sustainability and has been researching silver gulls in urban areas and calculating the cost incurred each year due to roof nesting.
We're in Frankston now. This is really interesting because the gulls are now nesting in situations where I haven't seen them nesting here before, and I've done a lot of work in this area. These nests have recently been removed, but they've obviously nested here very recently. Just down below on the next level, a lot of birds on eggs, some on chicks. Over in the corners, a couple of chicks. The nesting population in Frankston seems to have expanded considerably. Certainly where they're nesting now is not where they used to nest. Partly that'll be due to people putting up netting on roofs like where they nested. Now they've come across into this car park and even beyond up into buildings up here. So that's all new. And what we don't know is how much of that is displacement by action taken on roofs over this side to exclude them, and how much it's due to natural expansion. I guess time will tell. If they keep expanding, then that's an indication that it's a growing problem rather than just a shifted problem. And I suspect it'll keep going that way until something's done about it at a broader level.
They now prefer nesting on roofs of buildings, away from human interference. Gulls can be seen nesting in parking lots, which makes the chicks vulnerable to accidents. Chicks can be seen on the roofs, constantly scanned by their parents. As dedicated parents, gulls take care of and feed their young ones till the time they are able to survive on their own. But they take a few months before they can fly. So there's always a risk of falling off the roof. Nesting in urban areas also leads to encounters with birds of prey, such as ravens. Chicks were lucky today. Roof nesting is not just a matter of inconvenience, it comes with a cost.
This is creating problems that a lot of feces of the gulls are causing the corrosion of those tin roofs. Also, as they bring food to those areas, there's a lot of bones and feathers and things that get into building air conditioning ducts. Then there's also the risk of disease going through air conditioning ducts.
It's a bit hard to say from one year to the next, but the economic cost to the community of the various problems caused by gulls would run into the millions of dollars each year.
There are not many ways to prevent gulls from nesting on roofs. Methods like distress calls are not very effective in the long run. The most practical method, though expensive, is the nylon wire mesh that does not allow gulls to get onto the roofs. While competing with humans, often gulls meet their fate. But who is interfering in whose territory? Gulls are no longer shorebirds. They have urbanised with us. Like us, they are daily commuters to McDonald's and KFC. They don't hesitate to approach people and cleverly sit and wait for their share. They can be easily found hanging around eating joints all night. Now they prefer fries to fish. With all night restaurants, gulls have easy access to food 24/7. But this is not the only food source for gulls. Every morning, hundreds of trucks full of garbage are emptied in these rubbish tips. The garbage collected from our houses and restaurants provides for a constant food source for gulls. This garbage is collected, sorted and used for landfills, which act as huge, convenient open-air restaurants for gulls. Thousands of gulls can be seen constantly hovering over these rubbish tips looking for food. And the trucks keep getting fresh stock.
One of the problems with food waste within the waste stream and within the landfill is the attraction of bird life. The birds are attracted by the water that surrounds the landfill sites, typically in old quarry holes, and they're also attracted greatly by the food that we throw away. It's reported that in Australia we throw away about 20% of the food that we purchase and that we grow. It actually goes back into the waste stream. This ends up in a landfill such as this one. A seagull, which originally was living on a beach eating fish, today is eating pizza and pies and the food that we throw away, eating like the rest of us.
Gulls are not choosy eaters, which is one of the major reasons for their survival. As scavengers, they feed on almost everything available. Who wouldn't like a variety of meals to choose from, and a swim afterwards?
Really, the only sensible long-term solution for addressing the problems caused by elevated gull numbers are ecologically based, and that means tackling the additional human-derived food source that's enabled their population to increase. Until that's done, there's not a lot we can do about problems caused by gulls on a broad scale.
The silver gull is a native Australian bird. We have lived together for hundreds of years and accepted each other in our lives. Are silver gulls really guilty of what they are blamed for?
Gulls really are simply responding to an opportunity we've created for them. And we shouldn't be too hard on the gulls. It's really our habits that we need to change. And it's not just gulls, there's a range of other species too that have benefited greatly from things we've done. And if we see them as problems, then maybe we need to change the way we do things.
Nature has its own ways of striking a balance, if allowed to do so.